Dharma and you until enlightenment. This subject, may I good morning. We imagine to try to bend a piece of wood, a tree, in one direction. We want to take it from one direction to another. We put in effort. We're able to move it a little bit, but as soon as we stop pushing, then the opposite force takes it back to where it was. And this is what happens with our habits. When we have a habit in a certain direction and we try to generate the opposite, as we're putting in effort to generate that opposite effort, maybe it seems like it's done, but then when we stop putting effort, what happens? And naturally, the opposite force just pushes it back to where it was. And sometimes while we're putting in the effort, we feel resistance. We feel something that says, no, this needs to be different. There's an opposing force, and this is nothing other than habit itself, that we have a different habit. For example, yesterday we talked about turning around a selfish habit into an altruistic mind, seeing ourselves as the most important thing in the world, and that is so strong within us that every time we try to do differently, there's an enormous force that goes against us, not because there's something negative, that there's something that keeps us, some kind of negative force. No, it's the mere force of habit. It's like if you take a person who's extremely altruistic, that would be hard to make that person selfish. It's a question of habit. And that's why when we saw the other day the correct way to listen, and there were the 6 awarenesses, how to listen to the Dharma. The last one said that the process of healing is long and gradual and requires constancy. And constancy is one of the most important aspects. And one of the hardest aspects today for us is that it's easy for us to get bored. I remember it happened often with Lama Ganden Rinpoche, and for example, he would want to to give an empowerment, and people would say, I've already had that one. I've already received that empowerment, or I've already had those teachings. Um, but it's because you've had those teachings or you've had that empowerment that you need to do it again, so that you familiarize yourself a little bit more, that you go deeper, something that maybe you can understand differently. Gradually, we are in this process. So it's important to create some habit related to constancy, because when there's something important, even if it's somehow tiresome, could become even boring, this constancy is extremely important and makes all the difference. And I remember always when I was in Tibet, and there was this boy who brought water on his shoulders to the house of the abbot. It was quite tiresome, and he was he was the abbot of the entire Tashilhunpo monastery, and and in 99% of the houses there was no running water. But down, 4 stories down, there was a little faucet. And so every day, every 2 days, they would bring up water for the water that he needed. And I have a very practical mind. And so I said, Genla, why don't we just take a tube from the faucet and bring it up? And so you'll always have water when you need it. And we can eliminate this work. And he gave me an answer I would have never expected. He said, if the young people don't learn how to work hard and have constancy for basic needs like water, how will they learn how to have constancy for things that are deeper, and like a meditation? And I was really touched by this answer, because constancy, our ability to maintain something, to put effort into something that is important and positive but not easy, that's a habit. It's a habit that more and more we have less and less of. Or am I wrong? It We have more and more stimulation of all kinds, and we want to maintain this world of stimuli. We're used to that. We're used to being comfortable, extremely comfortable, and at the same time, um, in maximum comfort, minimum effort. And when there's something that requires getting out of our comfort zone and requires a certain effort, certain constancy, where there isn't comfort, then it's very difficult for us. Except that in but there's some things in life. I don't know if they will ever if it will ever be like this, there there are some things that are just difficult. I mean, facing our own inner conflicts, looking at ourselves, relating with other people, creating harmony with others. For example, these are things, I mean, there's no shortcut to these things where you just snap your fingers and it's all resolved. And along our spiritual path, changing our inner habits requires time and constancy. And that's why it's very important for us in our daily lives, where we can, we need to create easier and easier. It will become resistance. Then that self defilement that is the longest. Okay, just to pick up, look at the correct view of just this, to be able to open up our heart and love. This is not an easy process. It's not immediate. It requires time, constancy, and very strong process, a lot of affection and compassion for ourselves, because sometimes conceptually we understand something and we'd like to already be there. Not like that. There's a process where we can say to ourselves, I'm walking in the right direction, but I need to respect the I need to respect the length of my own legs, my own steps. I'm a result of everything I've been able to do up to now along our spiritual path to make steps. In that it's important that there are it's a graduated path to be direction without being guilty. Oh, I should be already there, and I'm not, and I should do, but I don't. Important is the direction. Today, we're going to see the correct view of reality. It's a little bit more complex. It's longer than the first 2 points, definite emergence and bodhicitta. And today I'm a little bit out of voice. Today we'll do first the Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa, but more quickly, maybe without the melodies. Um, Visualizations, a comfortable position, our back straight, hands. So relaxed. Our head is slightly bent forward with our mouth relaxed, slightly. Gently, we bring our attention to our own breath. In the space in front of us, Guru Buddha arises in the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni. Observing ourselves, we recognize our own cycle of samsara. We recognize our own cycle of mental defilements like ignorance, attachment, anger, sadness. Actions done based on those minds and the results of suffering to which we react with the same mental defilements. We strongly desire to reach a state of peace, balance, and satisfaction. We strongly desire to get out of samsara. To do this, we take refuge in Guru, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. From the 5 chakras of Guru Buddha emanate multicolored lights that absorb all the beings around. We recognize deep, strong desire, attraction for happiness. The energy with the other beings that are around us, like a wave that expands in all directions, starting with ourselves, and envelops gently every being that it meets. From the depth of our hearts, we desire every being be free from suffering and reach a state of peace. And for this to happen, we take the commitment. And for this to happen, we take the commitment to reach Buddhahood ourselves. To all may called nirvana, to be able through our body and the entire universe, or gods and humans, things of both. Is seated. Lama Tsongkhapa smiles at us. On the fresh of the Lord of 100 deities of Tushita sits omniscient Sumatakirti Dharma together. In the space before me, alone appears the Venerable Guru, smiling radiantly with delight. You, Supreme Field, for my faithful mind's collection of merit, in order that the teachings may flourish, I request that you remain for hundreds of in the presence of Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa. We gaze and we body, speech, and mind. The wisdom of your mind embraces the full extent of your ornament of the fortunate ones. Your beautiful body is illuminated by the glory of your fame. I prostrate to you, whom to see, hear, or recollect is meaningful. From our heart, offering deities, bringing offerings to Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa, who experiences bliss when receiving the offerings with which he has the correct view of reality. These offering deities then restore heart. This ocean of clouds of mentally created and actual offerings, refreshing water, various flowers, fragrant incense, lights, perfumes, etc., I offer to you, Supreme Field, for the collection and fills up our body. All energy and negative force that have been generated coming out of our body like smoke. Our body becomes completely filled with and nectar in a balanced state, free from any tension. Any past negativity is completely pacified, purified. Whatever unwholesome actions committed by body, speech, and mind, I have accumulated times, and especially types of vows, with strong, heartfelt regret, I confess each and every. From the depth of our hearts, we virtuous actions of Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa and all holy beings and sentient beings and ourselves. Taking the striving for much learning and understanding in this degenerate age, and by abandoning the 8 worldly dharmas, you made your favorable rebirth meaningful. O Lord, in the great wave of your deeds we rejoice from the depth of our hearts. We ask Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa to guide us in every moment in this life, to guide us with the Holy Dharma in every choice that we make, every word that we say, every thought that we have during our lifetime, at the time of death, during our bardo, and in all future lives. I request you, exalted and venerable Gurus, who have gathered clouds of wisdom and compassion in the space of Dharmakaya, in accordance with the needs of the field of your disciples. Let the rain of the vast and profound Dharma thereby fall. He can guide us. We direct and we dedicate all virtuous actions generated in the past to the well-being, the peace, and stability of every being. Whatever virtue I have accumulated in this practice, may it benefit the teachings and all beings, especially may the essence of the teachings of the Venerable Sumati be illuminated forever. A form of request for his blessings. A virtue of offering to Buddha's visualized. This mandala, built on a base resplendent with flowers, saffron water, adorned with Mount Meru and the 4 continents, as well as the sun and moon, may in its good to the merits created. O precious Guru, this precious from the 5 chakras of Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa, light rays, white, red, blue, yellow, and green, emanate and absorb into our respective chakra, bringing us all of his blessings.
Solwa de omo a guru vajradara sumate kirti siddhi hum oma guru vajradara sumate kirti siddhi oma guru vajradara siddhi hum omo a guru vajradara sumate kirti siddhi hum. Tre principali aspetti.
The three principal aspects of the path. I bow down to my venerable gurus. I shall try to explain as best I can the essential meaning of the Victorious One's teachings, the path praised by all the holy victors and their children, the gateway of the fortunate ones desiring liberation. Those who are not attached to the path pleasing the victorious ones, these fortunate ones, should listen closely. Without a completely pure, no way to identify the attachment seeks pleasurable effects in the ocean of samsara. Although by craving for cyclic existence, embodied beings are continuously bound. Therefore, seek renunciation from the beginning. Freedom and endowments are difficult to find and life is short. By gaining familiarity with this, attraction to the appearances of this life is eliminated. By thinking over and over again that actions and their effects are unfailing, repeatedly contemplating the miseries of existence, attraction to appearances of future lives is eliminated. When having trained in that way, there's not even for a second, of attraction to the excellences of cyclic existence, and day and night the intention seeking liberation arises, then the thought of renunciation has been generated. Even if this renunciation has been developed, if one hasn't generated pure bodhicitta, it will not become the cause of perfect joy of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise should generate the supreme mind of enlightenment. Swept away by the current of the four powerful rivers, tied by the tight bonds of karma, so difficult to undo, trapped in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the total darkness of ignorance, endlessly reborn in cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by these three sufferings, thinking that all minds in such conditions generate the supreme mind of enlightenment. Without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality, even though you generated renunciation and bodhicitta, it's not possible to know the root cause of samsara. Therefore, strive to realize dependent arising. Those who perceive nature of cause and effect of all phenomenon of samsara and nirvana, and thus totally destroy the grasping mind's object of perception, have at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. As long as the two realizations of appearance, the infallibility of interdependence, and that of emptiness, the freedom from assertion, are considered separate, there is not yet the realization of the thought of the capable one. When these two realizations exist simultaneously without alternating, merely seeing the infallibility of interdependence completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as truly existent, then the analysis of the ultimate view is indeed complete. Furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. If you realize how emptiness manifests in the matter of effort, you will quickly accomplish the final goal, my child.
La kamba yikyan luche nam kune chinchir tomara sunse chone ka tse me pa yil se di nang lendre milo korwe dunge na yang yang sampe chime pedra punso yimen kechi samya mike shim nyinsen ku tarpa tira lo chungna tamda simke gi simba mena lame shiye gyungi kera deka legi tambe dam buksu tsu mari mumbe makchen kune tip mume sibra kinke waru dunga singe gyunche me neka dindra we manam ge Sheraba mi de che kyam tawa chebra te chire re tokpe tabla kanshi korde chinama thamche gi namya luwa me ikpe tes ba nawa luwa me pa dan tomba kele chalwe kolwa ni jese so nawa tese to tadon tupe gomba tokpa namshe rejo mebra chikchato tenre nor tongwa tsamnyin ngeshe yugi zindang kunche na tetse tawe cheba zopa la shenya meta sewa dabe meta silshin gyudan rebu charwe tsush tarzin tawe chokpara migyuro tedra lamge tsowo namsumgi nenam range jishin tope emba tende tsundru topke ne tenke duma nyurtu trubshi pagina 30
Page 30 of Ganden Nyengu. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat at my crown. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me the realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa in front of us comes towards us, becomes as small as a thumb, sits joyously at our crown, at the top of our central channel. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat at my throat. Guide me with your great kindness. And please remain stable without separation of your
Alen
of my
sawe
body, of your body,
lama
speech, and mind until I
rinpoche
attain
laki
enlightenment.
trimbara pede tenshu la kadrin chimbu gone jesunte chodan tumu ngodrubu tse du so. Guru radice
Magnificent and
maestro
precious root Guru, please
prego di
abide on the
dimorare sul fior
lotus
di
and
loto e un
moon
cuscino lunare,
seat at my heart.
guidi
Guide
ancora
me with your
qualche
great
notte di silenzio
kindness
e resta
and
stabile
remain
finché sento che
stable
io
with
raggiunga
me
l'illuminazione.
without separation until I attain
Guru Buddha
enlightenment.
discende al nostro
Guru
chakra del
Buddha
cuore,
descends to our heart
siede sul
chakra,
fior di loto del nostro
sits
petto,
on the 8-petaled lotus flower at our
nostra
heart. Our
mente
body,
diventa
speech, and mind
ispirata
become
dal corpo
inseparable from the body,
glorioso di
speech, and
Guru
mind
Buddha Tsongkhapa.
of Guru Buddha Lama Tsongkhapa.
Aden Tsawe Lama Rinpoche, Dagi Ninkar Pede Tenshu La, Kadrin Chimbo Gone Jesunte, Chanchu Nimpe Pardo Temparshu. Nostro corpo,
Our
parole, mente,
body, speech, and mind
a livello
on
grossolare,
a coarse,
sottile,
subtle, and very subtle level
diventano
become
inseparabili dal corpo
inseparable
colorevole
from the
di
body,
Guru
speech,
Buddha
and mind
Tsongkhapa.
of Guru Buddha Lama Tsongkhapa.
Guru Buddha rimane al nostro
Guru Buddha
cuore,
stays at
il
our
fior di
heart,
loto si chiude,
and the lotus flower
rimane all'interno
closes.
di un
He stays within
arcobaleno di 5
a
colori,
5-colored
e
rainbow,
intorno ai petali
and around
c'è
the
un
petal,
Sarwa
Sarva
Siddhi
Siddhi Pur. May I never path
lodato
praised
dai
victorious ones.
Serava Kuntu Gyawa Tsongkhape Tekcho Shenye Modru Tepetu Tenyela Kechi Do Paramar Possano i
May
grandi
the holy
maestri
teachers have a long life. May the enlightened activities be fully displayed in the 10 directions.
e
And
possa la
may the
luce
brightness
intesa
of the
degli
teachings
insegnamenti
of
di
Lama
Lama
Tsongkhapa
Tsongkhapa dissipare
continuously dispel the veil of
completamente
darkness
l'oscurità
covering the
copre
beings
di
of the
esseri di
3
tutte le sfere di
realms.
esistenza. Jetsun Lame Kutser Tenchi Namkara Le Chokchurge Drume Sasumgi Drove Musela in tutte le mie
Throughout all my
esistenze
life, may I
voglio non
never be
essere mai
separated from the
separato dal
perfect
tuo
Guru,
perfetto fluire
splendor
dello
of Dharma,
splendore del Dharma,
perfecting the
perfezionarmi
virtues of the
nell'equilibrio di
paths.
tutti i pensieri e
Homies,
degli stati,
may I
possa io
quickly
ottenere
attain the
velocemente
state
lo
of
stato
Vajradhara.
Vajradhara. Kewa kuntu lama dan drame cheki pela longche chi sadan lamge yönde rabzone orje change kopa nyor tobe shu. Possa la
May precious
luce della
body
bodhicitta
mind,
che non
which
è
has
ancora
not yet
nata
arisen,
sorgere e crescere,
arise and grow.
quella che è già
That
nata
which has
non
already
cesserà di
arisen,
crescere sempre di più.
that which has
Chancho
not arisen,
Shencho
that
Rinpoche
which
Ke
has already arisen, have
Panamange
no decline,
Gyurche
increase forevermore.
Kepa Nyampara Mepa Kontu Pelwar Shu. A causa di questi
By
meriti,
this merit,
dopo aver
having
ottenuto gli
quickly
insegnamenti
attained the
dettati dal
state of
Guru
Guru
Buddha,
Buddha, may
possa
I
io
establish
portare e
every
stabilizzare ogni
sentient being
essere senziente, senza
without
eccezione,
exception
allo stesso
to
stato.
that same state.
Kewa di Nyurdo da Lama Sangye Drupkyurune, Drowa Chikyang Malupa, Tei Sala Köpar, Sho Nimodele Tsendele, Nime Kuyandele, all'alba
At dawn or
e
day,
durante
this way, we conclude the practice of Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa. Now, before the explanation and the correct view of reality, we've gotten to verse number 9. Let's break so that we start fresh. In this pause for those to, let's not stay chatting in Gompa, okay?
samaya manupalaya vajra sattva tenopa tishta didro me bawa suto kayo me bawa supo kayo me bawa anurakto me bawa sarva siddhi me prayatsan sarva karma sutsa me sitam shriyam kuru hon ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tata gata vajra mame vajra bhava maha samaya sattva ahum pe.
Nang ne chun chanchup sang sipat sewa chism realizing ultimate reality to realize dependent arising. Be able to do that.
Abbiamo parlato
Of our mind itself,
eliminare una certa
but to eliminate a kind of the direct eyes we are.
e per il quanto
And no matter how much passion we have for wanting to get out of samsara, if we don't what of samsara, we will stay. It's like if someone wants something so much but does nothing to get it. The one that comes to my mind is a silly example. Let me give you another example. Once, this is a true story. She inheritance a very large plot of land in the north of Brazil, and none of the previous owners had gone to see it. And when she got there, she saw there was a house, family living on that land, an extremely poor family. She saw the people. She can stay there, but I mean, you're here. The world, the land is very large, but you're very. I see that you're like poor. Why don't I mean, beans grow here? What about potatoes? What about carrots? No, they don't. And she started to ask about things, and they were saying that nothing grew there. At a certain point, she said, "Just a minute. But if you go actually and plow the land and prepare the land and fertilize the land, oh yeah, at that point anything would grow. So if I'm waiting for the potatoes and beans to it's very far from these two aspects give us the direction. Once we direction of where we the step that's necessary to reach our destination. As we saw previously, what's the main cause of our suffering? This obsession with self-gratification, our selfishness, and from selfishness generate this feeling of attraction and aversion that comes out in anger and fear and with which we interact, and that gives its result. Where does this selfishness arise, this obsession with self-gratification? It comes from ignorance. Let's remember that ignorance means to not see. In Sanskrit is avidya. A is negation and vid means to see. So ignorance is not seeing. Avidya creates intrinsic that exists independently. We do with this of follow it. We grasp two words, we believe, and we relate to reality as if it actually were of autonomous, independent, objective existence. The example given many times is when we look at each other, we think that we see the person in front of us. We see. Is that the result of our projections, of our own perception, or is it actually the person in front of us? So when I ask the person next, that person over there, yes. If I say, do you see Lama that's in the Ngompa? Can you see him? Ask the person next to you, see the same Lama that I see? What's the spontaneous answer? Yes. If someone asks you, do you see Lama there? No, nobody's going to answer no. Because we're different, we all perceive in a different way. No. So what happens is every time that we see something, perceive something, it appears to us as if it existed in an autonomous, independent way that has nothing to do with anything else. It's objective. If we go to observe in a more detailed way, we live in a reality where everything that exists is subjective, interdependent, or rather, it doesn't exist in an autonomous way. It exists in a reciprocal dependency, interdependency. This perception of reality being completely separate creates this deep feeling of distance. I have nothing to do with you. I have nothing to do with that or this. And this distance then manifests itself, it transforms into this self-gratification, this obsession with self-gratification. Let's give you let's make a few examples. What is this object? In your opinion? Does anyone have a doubt that this is a bell? Yes? No? How many things can this thing be? Is it a bell in an objective way or subjective way? It appears like a bell. It appears like a bell. If someone says it's not a bell, we'll tell them they're wrong. But can it be a weapon? Can it be a glass? Can it be... there used to be pieces of paper on the table. Can it be a paperweight? I've seen people use these as paperweights. Can it be some kind of furnishings? Can it be something to show that I'm a spiritual practitioner? How many things can this object be? Many or just a few? Many, many. Now, let's say that I come and I say, from now on, this object is no longer a bell. It's a cup. We need to use it as a cup. How does it appear to us? Does it appear as a bell that we're using as a cup or as a cup? How do we relate with the object, to the object, really? If I give it to you and I say, drink from this, people would say, I don't know what's happening to Lama today. Maybe it has some kind of strange meaning. But for us, is it really a cup or is it a bell that we're using as a cup? It appears to us as a bell that we're using as a cup. Now, let's imagine something else. A situation, a person, an object. Let's say an object of anger. Something that makes us angry. It could be a person, a situation, an object, an aspect of ourselves. An object of anger. Is it possible to see the object of anger as an opportunity to, but there's an enormous difference between seeing the object of anger as an opportunity to practice patience, which is positive, but it's very different than seeing the object. It's very different to see it just as an opportunity to practice patience. In the same way, it's different to see the bell that we're using as a glass and seeing the glass. What's the point here? A bell to be used as a glass is because it appears to me as if it existed as a bell in an objective, autonomous, and independent way. I mean, with me, it is a bell. But actually, if we analyze this object, it's not a bell in an independent way, autonomous way. It's a union of parts to which we can attribute different characteristics and functions. Another example to get to the same point. A story that I read in a book on Portuguese grammar when I was a child. It told the story of a missionary who went to the north of Brazil to bring Christianity. We had many Jesuit missionaries in Brazil. So this tells the story about this Jesuit missionary who spent about 3 years with indigenous people in the north. And he became very friendly with this boy, and had become his friend. And he tells him, I'm leaving. And the boy looked at him, and he shows him, he points at his watch, and he asks him if he could have it. And the missionary says, well, this or not. I mean, the watch can to cook the meat. Its people had no idea of the concept seat, but they were using the structure to grill meat. Was it right or wrong? Understand. Needed in for the electricity. And I said, no. And it was so expensive. Why do we need to make one? And said, no, they're everywhere. No, it's not true. I've never seen. And after I was driving from here to Pensa Airport, a road which I had taken a gazillion times, and I started seeing these the information cabins just popping up like mushrooms after a day after a rain. I knew they weren't there before. And now wherever I see these transformation cabins, there's the older ones that are very vertical and very high, the more modern ones that are lower and more horizontal. They're those that are more hidden. They're ugly ones. They're more attractive ones. But they're everywhere. Once we have the concept within, we can apply it to the world around us. Otherwise, we can't. Like once I went into the woods together with Pete here in Albagnano, who has a very a deep understanding of nature, much deeper than my own, and he started showing me things in the woods that I assure you that weren't there before. So what happens is the reality that we perceive in every moment is nothing other than the whole of parts to which we attribute a meaning. If I take this booklet, what are the parts that make up this booklet? There's a cover, there's a back cover, there are pages made up of paper and ink, images, concepts, right? But if we were to analyze and ask ourselves, what is this object? We'll see that this object is nothing other than a union of parts, the cover, pages, etc., to which we attribute a name, a concept I call booklet. But without attributing the name, it's nothing other than the union of parts. Like when we write out or a word that we hear, attribute a meaning here, bell, how those power, all the experiences that if ever what you hear is that are disturbing to adolescents. So this sound expecting you to have heard the sound that I heard. For example, you see the image of this a yellow cat, yellow hat. What's the sense object in this case? Form. Form, it's the that touches the object and then comes back and different colors and different forms. That's clear, isn't it? Depending on where we are and how the light is reflected, it's similar but different. That's the point. When I ask you, do you hear the sound of the singing? Do you see the image of Lama Tsongkhapa, in my question, it's implicit that I'm asking you not just if you see what I see and hear what I see, but it's implicit that what I see and what I hear is what is the reality of what is. Even if what I hear and what I see is subjective and depends on what I am, depends on my sense power, my consciousness, my own discernment, and the value to the object, the reality that we perceive is subjective, right? But this subjective reality us as being subjective, or does it appear to us as if it were objective? It appears as if it were objective. So when I ask you, do you see the image of Lama Tsongkhapa, I'm making reference not just to the image that I see, but as if that image that I see were autonomous, objective, and I'm expecting that you see it in that same way. So, this way of perceiving reality, is it congruent or incongruent, inconsistent? If we analyzed it, does it uphold how things are? And up to here, fine. But what's the problem of perceiving reality like this? First of all, the fact that there's this distance, that this reality that is interdependent, that depends on causes and conditions, that depends on its own parts and depends on the value attributed to it and the observer, the fact that it appears as being autonomous and independent, we become, how can I say, we depend on reality at that point. Let me explain myself. If I hear a sound that I like, the dynamic is this: vibration in the air. I come into contact with the sense power of my hearing. The mental consciousness sends sends a signal, and I perceive the sound, and at the perception of that sound, I have a sensation. A sensation can be pleasurable, unpleasant, or neutral. When we have a pleasurable sensation, whether we want or not, what's our reaction? Our reaction is that of attraction. When we have an unpleasant reaction, our reaction is aversion. But if I hear the sound of the singing bowl and I want to repeat that pleasurable feeling, actually, to have that same result of that complex equation, I need to have the same numbers, the same parts. And what are the parts that make up that sensation? Sensory object, sense power, sense consciousness, and the value given. But when I hear the sound doesn't appear to me as being the result of this complex interdependence. It appears to me as being something autonomous, objective. And so I want to have that same sensation again. I develop attraction towards the sound, towards the singing bowl. I see an image and I feel something unpleasant. So I direct my aversion towards what I see, towards what, according to me, exists in an autonomous way. So I'm constantly trying to create situations that I like and avoid situations that I find unpleasant. But it's not possible because the sensory object is only one part of the experience. I don't know if this is clear. The same sensory object in different moments, do they bring us different experiences? Yes. Because the experience is not created just by the object, but by seeing the object as if it existed in an objective and independent way, we become dependent on it, and we look at the world around us as if it were autonomous and independent, and we create a kind of a dependency on it. And so to be happy, I need this, and to avoid being unhappy, I need to avoid this. And this is where the constant attraction and aversion, hatred, anxiety, fear comes from.
Ritorniamo all'esempio della campana.
Coming back to the question of the example of the bell, analyzing what is this? It's the union of parts to which we attribute the name bell. To be able to see this object as a cup, I need to take away from my head the idea that it's a bell. But to do that, I need to understand, not just on a conceptual level, but I need to feel that this object is not a bell in a objective way, but it's a bell based on the value that I give to it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. So, similarly, regardless of how much work I put into not getting angry, for example, and how much I understand how bad anger is, as long as that situation, when that object will be an object of anger and exists as an object of anger, as an objective and independent way, and has as long as it exists as such, even if I try to act differently and I see it as an opportunity to practice, etc., that helps and fine. But as soon as I stop putting effort into acting differently, what happens? It comes back, the anger comes back. So as long as I'm not able to deconstruct that way of seeing that object of anger as something that exists in an objective way, I won't be able to take away that solid basis on which anger bases itself on. It bases this. One last example. Lama Ganchen, one day we were in the car together coming back from Milan, and I always think about this. After the toll booth on the highway, there's a part where the road goes down and then goes back up again, and then to turn right. So when we were there, I tell you this so you can think about it too when you're there. He said, imagine, so I'll tell you the same story with a little bit more colored, a little bit more detailed, exaggerated. Imagine you go to a store and at a certain point you see a jacket and you say, oh, how beautiful. I like it. Not only do I like it, but I really need this jacket because, in a few days I need to go to that party. And I know that at the party there will be that person that I really want to show off to. I I want to get the attention of this person. So I need to really look good. I mean, my closet is full, but I don't have anything that is right for the party. So this jacket is perfect, and I need to justify to myself, I want the jacket. And there I am flirting with the jacket and why I need it, etc. So the jacket is objectively something that I need, it's expensive, um, but I need it. And as I'm there, just about to buy the jacket, really, the person that I want to show off to arrives. And as you see the person, you said, hi, oh, you're here too. Okay. And here we are, face to face with the jacket. And this person looks at us and says, what an ugly jacket. Courage to wear something like this. Someone dressed like this, I wouldn't even say hello to someone dressed in this jacket. Look at the quality is so bad. One needs to really be stupid to spend so much on something like this. Oh, anyway, sorry, I need to go. And then here we are in the shop, just by ourselves, us and the jacket. So is the jacket the same? Did someone come and change the jacket? What has changed? The value, the attributed value. Is it the same value? Is it the anxiety behind that anxiety to find necessary for that feeling, seeing that jacket, that it seeing that jacket didn't exist in an objective way. All are of that feeling appears to exist in an independent. The text says, wisdom realizes emptiness as existing object. Dependent. It's the only way to not. It's a horrible example because we shouldn't judge people, but their actions are their behavior that seem friendly and behavior that seem friendly, because what's determined so nice does someone need to do anyway. That side note. The point is to eliminate a certain thought. We need a thought that is directly opposite. Our ignorance, I repeat, is not a negation of something that is. It's not a negation of interdependence. It's not a negation of the laws of cause and effect. It's not a negation of the subjective reality. It's an affirmation of an illusory reality as if it existed in an objective, independent way. My ignorance is an affirmation where I think that what I see is what you see and that is the reality. So to oppose this affirmation, what do I need? I need a negation that is exactly opposing So let's imagine this drawing. Above, I'm drawing, I have let's say a flower, the flower that I see. On one side, let's go this way, and we say this flower exists. We make an affirmation. It is of intrinsic existence as it appears to me. The flower exists in an objective, independent way. This is our ignorance that affirms something that is not true. What is wisdom here? The mind that eliminates that? The opposite one. So the above and below needs to stay the same, but the flower does not exist as it appears in an objective. Look at ourselves, right? Without philosophy, face. But if we analyze what we see in the mirror, I'm not seeing face, and if we analyze I say, no, it's not. And at that point, we agree. See in the mirror is a reflection of our face. So with this understanding, we can deconstruct the mind that grasps at that as being one's own face. Is this clear? So our ignorance says the image in the mirror is my face. Wisdom says the image in the mirror is not my face, it's only a reflection. Do we follow? Another example. An image within a dream appears to us as being or as being illusory as we're dreaming during the dream. It appears as being real. We have attachment and fear. We react to what happens in the dream. But actually, it's not, because it's only an illusion. I mean, the image of the dream exists, but it doesn't exist as something real. If I dream of someone I love, I sleep with someone at my house and I dream that the person is dead, then I get up in the morning and I go and see that person is most probably still alive. So it's an illusion. So to eliminate our ignorance, it's not enough to affirm how things are. Let's go back to the example again. The example of the image of our face in the mirror. Face. So the image of my face, the image in the mirror is my face. But if you say, no, it's the reflection of your face, we're able to put the two things together. Reflection of my face, I'm looking at my face. I mean, we're able to put these two ideas together, aren't we? If it's not my face, it grasps of a reality that exists. Wisdom says acts we're making reference to the negation of what ignorance affirms. Is that clear? Yes, more or less. I understand that through reason. Why is the flower not of existence? Because it is interdependent. It depends on causes and conditions. It depends on its own parts. It depends on the value attributed to it on to every observer. So the law is the flower lacks inherent existence. It is interdependent. Okay? So Lama Tsongkhapa says, verse number 9, without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality, even though you have generated renunciation and bodhicitta, it is not possible to cut the root cause of samsara. If you don't understand the mind that realizes that the flower is not of intrinsic existence, then you can't. For this reason, interdependence is how things are, and emptiness is how things are not. Starting from the fact that our ignorance is an affirmation of that which is not there, I need to negate what is not there, but that I think is there. If someone comes and says, make an affirmation of something wrong, I affirm that you stole something. To take away that affirmation, I need to get to the conclusion that you did not steal. And to do that, I need to be able to explain all the logic of how you did not steal. So you did not steal because you were not present in the time of the theft. But to get to that negation, I need to have a reason. I need to have an explanation. And until I have the certainty of an explanation, then I'm not sure. I'm not sure that you didn't steal. I mean, are you even if so I really need to find a convincing reason to prove to me, so I get to the conclusion that you did not steal. In the same way, to oppose our ignorance that grasps that reality as if it were independent and autonomous, etc., we need to reflect many times deeply on how things are, on the interdependence, on the fact that things depend on causes and conditions, that everything depends on the interaction of its parts, the value that it's attributed to it by the observer, that everything depends on a reciprocal interdependence. Once we have clarity about this, naturally, we're able to deconstruct that wrong affirmation. Last thing about this, if I have an affirmation on a conceptual level, I need to have the negation of that affirmation on a conceptual level. But if I have an affirmation that is much deeper, spontaneous, non-conceptual, so on what level do I need to generate the antidote? on a profound, spontaneous level. When we see this image of Lama Tsongkhapa, for example, and I ask you, can you see the image of Lama Tsongkhapa? Even with all the logic, it's not a logical, it's not a cognitive process, logical process. It appears to me as being, it appears to me as if it just existed spontaneously and independently of me. And that's why we need meditation. We need a gradual process so that we can more and more, so we can see the interdependence more and more. Because the more and more we see the interdependence of things, the inherent existence is no longer supported. Once we know that the actual sound of the bell is made up of these three parts, we know then it's absolutely subjective. But as soon as we stop thinking about that interdependence and then we play the singing bowl again, it appears to us as being objective. Because we have a strong conditioning in this way. So to eliminate our ignorance that grasps at reality as if it exists in an objective way, we need to repeat again and again, more and more, understand more and more. Using the words of Lama Tsongkhapa, we need to strive intensely for the method to realize. Realize means a non-conceptual understanding of interdependence, dependent arising. Now let's read quickly. Now that we've constructed the basis, let's read the other verses and we'll explain them after lunch. Kashin korde chunam tamchiki guntre na yang lua toshing. Those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect, the interdependence of all phenomenon of all phenomenon of Sarvana and Nirvana that appears in a pure way or impure, as sentient beings or Buddhas. When someone is able to see anything as interdependent, depending on cause and effect, being subjective, so those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana, and thus totally destroy the grasping mind's object of perception, have at that time those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect of all phenomenon of samsara and nirvana, and thus totally destroy the grasping mind's object of perception, have at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. One's able to see that everything is interdependent, depends on the relationship with the observer, etc., and at the same time is able to destroy the wrong mind, that it has an autonomous intrinsic existence as it appears. Who is able to see this interdependence and destroy that grasping mind's object of illusory perception, have at that time entered the pleasing, the path. Now attendre lua me padang tumpa kelantrawe gowanyi jisi sosor dausitu. As long as the two realizations of appearance, or rather the infallibility of interdependence, the fact that we can perceive and see that everything exists interdependently, that's the first realization, and the second one is, and that of emptiness, or the freedom from assertion. Someone might that I can this was explained and in such was mentioned only as so a relative reality was existed on one side and absolute nature on another. Instead, they're two same coin. Years is the more I have an emptiness, the by emptiness I have a greater understanding of the law of karma. That's a of being on the right road. If the opposite is true, then we're not meditating on emptiness in the right way. We'll talk about this later. 12. When these two realizations, the interdependence and emptiness, the affirmation of the interdependent negation, intrinsic nature of reality, when these two realizations exist without alternating and merely seeing the infallibility of interdependence completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as, then the analysis of the is complete. Here it's absolutely clear. When the relations exist simultaneously without alternating, seeing the infallibility of interdependence completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended truly existent, then the analysis of the ultimate view is indeed complete. In other words, when the mere perception of cause and effect or the parts make something as interdependent, that can deconstruct a inherent reality. When we're able to do this, then we've completed the ultimate view. Furthermore, this we'll see later. Just read it now. Furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. If you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of cause and effect, then you will not be taken by wrong notions holding extreme views. When you see also that emptiness itself is empty of inherent existence, then you won't be taken by extreme views. When in number 14, in this way, when you have realized the crucial points of the three principal aspects of the path, seek solitude and generate the power of enthusiastic effort, you will quickly accomplish your final goal, my child. Lama Tsongkhapa wrote this to Nawan Drak, referring to him as my child. Well, we're going to read this one more time and then we stop. Without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality as being interdependent, even though you have generated renunciation and bodhicitta, it's not possible to cut the root cause of samsara. the ignorance that grasps at inherent existence, which is the root cause of samsara, cannot be caught. Therefore, strive intensely for the method to realize dependent arising. Those who perceive the inevitable nature of cause and effect of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana, and thus totally destroy the grasping mind's object of perception, have at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. As long as the two realizations of appearance, or rather the infallibility of interdependence, and that of emptiness, or rather the freedom from assertion, are considered separate, there is not yet the realization of the thought of the capable one. When these two realizations exist simultaneously without alternating, and merely seeing the infallibility of interdependence completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as truly existent, then the analysis of the ultimate view is indeed complete. Furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. If you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of cause and effect, then you will not be taken by wrong notions holding extreme views. In this way, when you have realized the crucial points of the three principal aspects of the path, seek solitude and generate the power of enthusiastic effort. You will quickly accomplish your final goal, my child.
Kewakuntu yanda lama dan drame cheki pela longche ching sadan lamge yente rabzone dorje change kopa nyur tobe sho nimo dele tsendele nin takto dele pe koncho sumke chingi koncho sumke ngodrubutso koncho sumke
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us achieve all realizations and sprinkle the power lives with various signs of auspiciousness.